Hey, welcome to my podcast. My name is Dr. Brendan McCarthy. I am the Chief Medical Officer of Protea Medical Center in Tempe, Arizona. Thank you for tuning into my podcast. Did I say turning into my podcast?
Yeah.
It was all good until then. I felt really good about that intro. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Dr. Brendan McCarthy. I am the Chief Medical Officer of Protea Medical Center in Tempe, Arizona. Thank you for tuning into my podcast. We are going to discuss today autoimmunity, and it's a big topic, and we're going to create a series on it. I think we're looking at about 4 episodes that are going to be ahead of us. Today's going to be the introduction, and it's going to be my goal to kind of explain to you where it is that I feel helpful in giving you information that you can use to modulate autoimmunity in your own case, how you can advocate for labs that'll help support whether these things work. We will talk about how these lifestyle changes or even prescriptive medications I'm going to recommend impact you. And we'll talk about whether you could do these medications or lifestyle changes along with the medications you're currently on. It's incredibly complex and important. And I think it's something that would be helpful. I've been doing this for some time now. And the thing why I am able to speak on this very confidently is because I use lab work to verify and justify what I do. If someone has antibodies at a certain level and I can introduce a change, write a prescription, do a dietary shift in someone, and then prove those antibodies go down and in many cases disappear, I know my work is working. Everything that I say in this podcast, anything I've ever said in this podcast can be cited to research. I don't do anything experimental. I don't come up with something in the middle of the night and be like, that'd be kind of cool to try. Let's just try that. I don't do that. Everything I do is based upon, normal understanding for a physician on physiology and biochemistry and pathology. Everything I do is based strongly in an understanding for how the body integrates the immune system with the endocrine system. What this series is about to do is the immune and endo. Generally, I speak mostly about endocrine. But today I'm going to speak about immune because immune and endocrine are wedded. They're very strongly wedded to one another. And I'll speak a little bit about neuro as well because mental health always plays into this. So before I jump into our introduction, please do me a favor. If you just scroll down a little bit on this little YouTube channel, if you're on your YouTube channel with us, just go down there and you'll see there's a subscribe button. Subscribe. If you like what we do, press like. If you want to share it, please share it. The goal of the podcast is always to be helpful to you. I'm so driven by that. Justin and I both work very hard at that, and it is something we believe it's important for us to approach this with the integrity of listening to you and being answerable to you. I don't want to do this podcast and just be right. I want to do this podcast and be helpful. There's a difference in there. When I want to be right, I'm that arrogant physician saying, this is what this is. There's no other way but this. Being helpful is saying, these are the things I see that work. This is how I prove for it. This might work for you as well. Consider it for these things. This is how you show it helps. Do it in coordination with your healthcare provider. There's so many players in this arena now of social media that are either there to feed their own ego or they're there to feed their pockets. I'm neither. Justin and I are very much dedicated to this. We're not here to feed our egos. We're definitely not here to feed our pockets. We're not sponsored by anyone except for perhaps Hum Kombucha. Now, Hum, if you're watching this, please know that if you were to sponsor me, I would maybe have a can of Hum Kombucha right here, and it would be placed perfectly. And I would just be sipping it while I did the podcast and talk about how delicious it is. Just picture it. It would be right here. The reason why it's not here right now is because I'm not sponsored by you. Hum Kombucha.
I'm gonna put a picture of a can.
Those of you who don't know, kombucha is a beverage. I don't know if some of you are not in the States, and I don't know if kombucha is popular where you are. So I don't know how it happened. I don't know, but it's tea. It's got probiotics in there and antioxidants, and it's like so low in calories. It's just good for you. And Hum brand is the one that I drink the most at home, and I don't have a problem being sponsored by them because I'm not going to tell you Hum Kombucha cures, insomnia, or I'm not going to say Hum Kombucha is going to, fix your broken ankle. It's not. Just say it tastes delicious and it's good for you. So if I ever get sponsored by something like that, I'll let you know. And why I'm joking around about it is because you guys, I will never tell you take this supplement because I am selling it to you. I'm never going to tell you to do this lab from this lab company because I work for that lab company and they're going to pay me. I'm never going to betray your trust for profit. Ever, ever, ever. I feel so strongly about that. Because once you lose trust, you don't always get an opportunity to earn it back. And all I want to do in this is be helpful because there is a reward. It's like, well, Brendan, why do you do this? Where's your payday on this? Because I'm not asking for patients either. I don't do that. I don't come out here and saying, please come on my thing to be my patient. I'm doing this because Justin and I, there's a sense of reward that happens when you're helpful to people, and there's a benefit to the individual in front of you, and their quality of life is improved. It gives more meaning to life, I believe. All right, on to the subject. Autoimmunity in women. Autoimmunity. Well, with women, why is it that women have the highest rates of autoimmunity? There are studies that have recently come out that say it's just because of the chromosomal difference between X versus Y, and you have a higher chance of having it with X. And I think that's not very authentic because it's more like just saying you have autoimmunity just because you're a woman, because that's just what it is. And that's not an authentic thing. I don't believe in that. To the degree that they could come up with that research to see there could be benefit to helping people, maybe. Why women have a higher instance of autoimmunity than men is primarily due to estrogen. It's primarily endocrine. And there is also, it's endocrine, reproductive endocrine, and it's also stress endocrine. Women have a higher instance of autoimmunity, as I mentioned a moment ago, based upon stress, based upon estrogen. When I've practiced over the years of my practice, I've seen women come to clinic and they'll have, autoimmune thyroid, their thyroid peroxidase antibodies be, 800, 900. And their body, and it should be, 80, 50, 20. It should be way down there. And they go to their other care providers and they're maybe put on a corticosteroid, maybe, or they're just monitored, or sometimes they have their thyroid removed. The care around autoimmune thyroid is not really there. There's not a lot of care around it. A lot of times it's just the hands-off approach the physician takes. Well, this is what it is, and we only talk if it hits to a point where having a thyroid, the thyroid itself is breaking down because of autoimmunity creating more scar tissue up here, and there's just breaking down, so you're not able to really, your thyroid gland doesn't work anymore because of that, or because you have the type of autoimmunity where it's just you hyper-secreting thyroid, so you have a thyroid storm. Those are the times they want to jump in there and be helpful. When a woman presents to my clinic with autoimmune thyroid, my first thing is like, how can I bring these antibodies down? The things that have worked for me over the years that I'm going to go into with this series is diet. When I first started practicing medicine, gluten, we were beginning to understand that. It was like 2002 to 2008 was revolutionary, understanding that these new strains of gluten that were brought into the food supply triggers more autoimmunity in people. And so I was seeing when I would take gluten out of people's diets, I would watch their antibodies drop. And I felt so helpful in those moments. I thought it was one of the best things I've ever done. And so, I made the mistake early on of anybody with autoimmune, just take them off gluten. And why I say it's a mistake is because that's just a blanket approach to everybody. That's not intelligent. It's just broad. And it's hopeful, but it's not intelligent. There are other factors in there as well for these women. That's what I want to drill down to in this next series is it's more than just diet. And if diet didn't work, what else are you going to think about? And then also, how do you screen for it? Telling someone to stop eating gluten out of nowhere who have autoimmune thyroid, you have to justify it. You have to explain it. Because a lot of people, that's not easy to do. It's a part of their lives. A lot of times it's like, you want to change my whole diet around? And I know it sounds easy just to say it out loud here in this room and on this episode, but as a human being, it's not easy. I know, over years. So I better be sure it's going to get some type of help or have a higher chance of helping than not. So how do I know? Is it diet? How do I know? What are the other reasons? That's what I want to get into. So gluten, I did see that being beneficial. Over the years and over the time practicing, the other areas we would see higher and higher rates of intersection or help is modulating stress. So I have cases that would come in with women with autoimmune thyroid. Again, I'm going to keep picking on thyroid today. Autoimmune thyroid, and it really was due to stress, because when their lifestyle changed, when the stress was reduced, their antibodies disappeared. They went all the way down to a normal range, or at least closer to normal than ever before. I've seen it go from 800 to 200 with people who changed their lifestyle. It could be either from changing their career. It could be from changing their relationship status. It could be any number of things, but stress really does impact that. Another area, and it's foolish to ignore, is estrogen. Estrogen is a huge player with this. When women have estrogen dominance, that really does affect the endocrine landscape, which we've talked about for years now on this podcast. With estrogen dominance has so many impacts throughout your body, but it also modulates your immune system, and it does play a role in developing autoimmunity. So with women, it's important to discern, is this due to stress? Is this due to diet? Is this due to their estrogen? And it's important for us as physicians to approach it from those three areas, but also being curious. We need to be curious, because what if there's something else going on with that person other than just those three things? And there are other things. Prolactin plays a role in this, but I would say that falls under estrogen in some ways. We'll talk more about it in another episode. So being curious with these women when they come with autoimmunity is essential. Having an understanding how the body responds to endocrine disruption in the endocrine system, and how that plays a role with the immune system and dysregulates the immune system, that's key. And then also being curious as to what other components are at play. So the next series of episodes, we're going to drill down into this. We're going to talk about the endocrine system specific to estrogen. Then we're going to go into specific to stress with cortisol. We're going to talk a little bit about prolactin, and then we'll talk about diet. And then, as we just did with the endometriosis, when we're finished, at the very end, we'll do one more episode that's going to answer the questions that have come up in either the reels that you see on Instagram or on YouTube. So you guys submit great questions, and it really helps me be clear. I want to be clear. So your questions mean a lot, and you're going to see me using your questions to provide clarity to these episodes and to the topic at hand. Thank you for tuning in today. Again, this is the introductory episode. We're going to move forward. We'll make, I think, 3 to 4 more episodes after this, and I look forward to seeing you then. Take care.